go your own way and leave a trail, you know. So it's like kind of like that for me.
So don't you think though that's a, I mean, I know you don't like that word for yourself, but like at Coltrane, that's kind of a form of genius because like.
No, I'm no genius. I'm dumb as hell.
No, I mean, okay, well, we'll leave you out of it, but it's a form of genius for someone to not have a reference point, to take something somewhere else that no one else has really taken it to, and those guys did that. And I don't know whether, I mean, I guess it just comes from some innate something within them, but I think your playing comes really deep within you that no one can emulate.
Probably something I ate or something I ate.
All right, I'll stop complimenting you. So there was no kind of like aha moment where you go, okay, well now I'm really up to something
No,
different.
there's never been that aha moment. I'm still waiting. You know, I mean, that's one cool thing about being really old, which I am, is that the only cool thing about being old is I woke up today. Well, there you go.
That's inspirational, Al.
Well, it is, because then I can go buy another beer, you know.
Well, I don't want to dominate the questions. Anybody in the audience want to ask something that, anybody out there?
I'd like to follow up on what you brought up. So you're suggesting that this idea that the creative groundbreaking by someone like, say, John Coltrane is innate, but his practice routine was legendary. And,
from like the Slimsky, like the scales?
Well known for his practicing routines and how many hundreds of thousands of hours you go into exploring scales, technique, etc. So how much of it is craft? I mean, you know, did you go farther just because you put the work in? Did Coltrane go farther because he put the work in?
Probably. I mean, I don't think you get anything for nothing, you know.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I just figured out a way that I wanted to work on my own, you know, and study things on my own, and then I figured out that I wasn't sure about the guitar with the way that notation was with the guitar, and now, you know, you get to an altered dominant chord, I go like, oh, it's got 5 different names, and my dad says, yes, because you don't play the piano, and you can never play all the notes, you're only playing 4 notes at a time, which is true. You know, most guitar chords only contain 4 notes, which don't even really spell out any chords, so that's when I decided that I was going to look at the whole thing differently. So I quit looking at anything from the root up, which is what piano players usually do. So I just kind of figured out a way to like write down all that. I wanted to figure out every possible scale without buying a book, so I did. And I catalogued them all, and I have them all. Like, obviously, I can't remember hardly any of them, because there's thousands of them, but it was a unique experience to work on it, and I did work on it, you know. Now, I'm lazy now, but I'm old, but I wasn't so lazy when I was younger.
So when you were younger, how much per day do you think you practiced?
Well, I played it, you know, every day. I never had a strict practice thing. I'd have like 3 things, and one would be just like working on something that I didn't know, and then the other thing would be like trying to figure out how to, you know, work on chords or whatever scales, and the third thing would be just improvising. I just noodle. So those are the only 3 things that I did, but I did it every day. And sometimes I'd spend more time noodling, and other times I'd spend a lot of time working on stuff I didn't know, or trying to figure out how to play certain scales in certain positions. So.
Were you playing in like cover bands, doing cover music at all, or like jazz?
Oh, sure,
gigs?
yeah. I played in the top 40 band for years. It was cool.
Like to hear those.
It was a little bit better than the bike shop. But I don't know.
That's right. You're also like cycling like 80 miles a day or something, right?
Yeah, in the old days. But I quit. Now I'm fat. So if you get a bike, ride it.
Well, that kind of leads into the chords thing. So how do you approach, because obviously lots of people, myself included in this room, can't play some of the chords that you actually play because they're so extended.
Well, actually, because my only teacher I ever had was my dad, and he played the piano. So when he would play chords, it would always be voiced differently than the guitar. Even though later on himself became a pretty good guitar player, he could play like beautiful chord things on the guitar. He didn't have a lot of chops but it didn't matter. He had a lot of harmonic chops, which is better actually. But but then a lot of the chords that you showed me, they were kind of like close voiced. So I just I just grew up with that. So that was normal for me. So I never learned the normal, you know, little short bunched up chords really.
Yeah.
So they were always a little bit more extended. So I think it just it was just an accident. My dad obviously didn't play the guitar, but he was able to open up a whole nother world for me with the guitar. But I didn't know. I was ignorant to the fact that I was doing anything that was any different than anybody else. I thought everybody else did this.
So you never look back and said, "Oh, I'm not hearing anybody doing this. What I do now."
Not really, no. I was just because I always heard other guys that I thought were really amazing and stuff. So no, I just kept going, just kept looking, kept fishing, you know, kept digging. You got to dig.
So how did the tone evolution come about? Just the kind of ever evolving, chasing the tone.
Well, that's kind of a never-ending story.
How did it first start? Did it?
No, I just wanted to play like long notes, and so I started like everybody else, kind of using distortion. But the problem with that is that it's kind of ugly. You know, a lot of times the distortion is really ugly. So it's been a big battle for me. I've been trying to find a way to make the distortion sound not so ugly. To try to kind of make it prettier. It's kind of hard though. You need a lot of makeup. but it's kind of, I don't know, not with gear so much, but just the way of thinking about it. And it's not really always gear, but the gear helps. You just look for stuff that you like, and I just tried to get the sound that was not so gnarly or whatever. And you know, to some people it might be too dark, or you know, but it's not. It's never done. It's not. I haven't got there yet. I'm just still working on it. So long as I keep waking up, I'll keep working on it.
Question?
If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll come over to you.
Jacob.
I'll start with the gentleman right here.
How do you
I'll start with the gentleman right here. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. This is actually going back to the chords. If I remember correctly, I know you played violin on your IOU record, and I think you said in an interview like around '82 that you were tuning in fifths sometimes. So I was curious as to whether any of your recorded output is in fifths, or is it all standard stuff and you just did the fifths thing at home privately to explore the voicings and that?
No, the only time I tuned anything in fifths beside the violin was because I like that tuning, but it's kind of gnarly on the chords, but you know, kind of limited. But was with the syntax because it was easy to do. So I could tune it in straight fourths, which is my favorite. Which is, if I was starting to learn to play the guitar today, and somebody gave me a guitar today, I'd tune it in straight fourths without a doubt. Just like it's extreme bass, boom. Because to find that B string is a pain, and it's unnecessary. Because you play, you know, there's only a few of us like go around bashing out power chords anymore. Besides, you don't need that anyway. So, if I was to learn again, it's just that I spent so many years trying to beat the B string that I can't go and unbeat it anymore.
It's a song title in there.
Because otherwise, you know, it'd be easy. You know, any voicing on any set of four strings is the same, exactly the same. And you go, wait a minute, that B string. So
are any of the syntax tunes in fifths on the records or not?
yes, they are.
Do you remember
yeah, but I figured out how to play them in fourths too, because that was one of the things. That was one of my pet projects. Was I like to figure out if I can play the same thing in fifths as fourths, and actually, most of the time you can, except for the syntax had kind of unlimited range, so some of the low notes they weren't available, you know. So, but like Looking Glass, I wrote that in fifths, and Non-Brewed Condiment was in fifths, but you can play it on a regular guitar. I can play the same thing on the guitar.
And the solos are in standard, or did you solo?
The solo on Non-Brewed Condiment when I used the syntax, that was in fifths, because I was just trying to play a fake violin, you know. But otherwise, no. I on the guitar, just use a regular tuner. As much as I'd like to change it, I always end up dropping back. You know, I've tried it but failed miserably. So.
What's this gentleman over here?
Allan, back to the tone, the search for the tone. You know, you were saying that the distortion, I think I've read that you say it's sort of a necessary evil, and maybe not distortion, but boost of some kind to get the sustain that you're looking for. How do you actually do it? I mean, what's your the signal chain, guitar to what for the say the lead sound?
Well, with the lead sound, usually I find it. First of all, you've got to find like an amplifier that you kind of like the sound of. You find one that you like, you know, there's a lot of really nasty amplifiers out there, but if you find one that you like, and then I kind of work with that, and being as I had a little bit of an electronic background, I used to build my own load boxes, which I could manipulate the sound a little more. They would just take the power amp section of any kind of tube amp and turn it into a line level signal, and then I could EQ it, and then just put it into a big giant power amp to the speaker cabinets and run it really quiet. So it would be, the original amplifier might be really, like, it looked like it was really loud, you know, like it was on 11, but the actual output would be very low. And I just try to work on just finding an amp that I really like the sound of, and then just try to manipulate it a little bit. And I usually use I used to like to use the pickups on my guitars are really low output. They're like the original 59B, which are made by Seymour Duncan that he makes for me, especially. And they're just like the original 59B pickup. And then so I use a little booster pedal. And then go right into the amp. So I'm just kind of juicing the amp a little bit more, but without a high power pickup. Because those old pickups didn't have much of an output, you know, they were pretty low. But they had a really cool sound, and they didn't have big magnets, so they didn't suck on the strings. So when you got thin strings like I use, if you got a magnet that's really powerful, it stops the strings from vibrating. And so I'd rather have a less powerful magnet and then kind of boost it a little bit later down the chain so that it didn't affect the strings. That's why I usually like single pickup guitars for that reason.
So as far as what you were explaining there, where you went from, I guess, sort of a power soap kind of thing into a power amp, is that what you do live, or do you just use
No, not so much live. I mean, I've done that live, yeah, sure, but because of because of how we have to travel now and we can't take so much stuff, I've just been using like pedals and stuff, you know, just to make it easier. But it's not the way I'd really like it to be, but it's the way that the economy has turned it into. So I generally don't use exactly the same stuff that I would use in the studio.
So is your basic?
I don't even know where I'm looking because that light's so bright. Maybe pointing to the audience.
So live then is essentially it's as simple as your guitar goes into a boost of some kind and then right into the amp?
I usually goes wide because I never found an amplifier that could do anything. But I mean everything, I should say. So I would like always split the sound into like the clean sound is easy, you know, the clean sound I love it. The DI is easy, but the lead sound is always a bit of a problem because I'm always like looking for the questing for the tone or whatever. So it's a little bit more difficult. I just usually wire the guitar off, and one of them goes into the clean amp, and the other one goes into the dirty amp. And then I have two separate sets of stereo, so it's like four speakers with stereo clean, stereo rhythm. Otherwise, that's it pretty much. I could do it with two power amps and four, like two stereo cabinets and two power amps. Essentially. I don't know if that answers the question.
Somebody else, right?
First of all, I'd like to thank you and salute you for the beauty and integrity of what you bring to the table as a musician. And then, if I may, a couple of questions. One,
What would you do if you taught an ensemble of young aspiring musicians in the art of improvisation? What are some of the things that you would tell them?
I don't know. I don't know anything.
That was my question.
I really don't know. You know, I'm trying to figure it out. That's the weird thing is like you see like people who are teachers and they're like, how can you teach anything if you don't know anything? You know, so I don't know anything about music. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's so deep and so far, and it goes so, you know, it goes so far beyond. It's like, who am I to know anything about anything? I don't know anything about music. Nothing. So how could I teach anybody anything when I don't know anything?
Refund.
Would I be allowed to rephrase
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He didn't really mean that.
It's like Frank Zappa said, you know, like, do you have any advice for young aspiring musicians? He goes, yeah, take out a Herbalife franchise.
Well, how about this? What do you look for when you're improvising with other musicians? What are the things that, you know, if you don't want to talk generally, then what are the things that you know, that you get you going coming from other musicians, and what do you try to give them musically in order to have a...
Well, I just try to screw up as little as possible, of course, number one. And then, just like if you're working with the guys that I've been very, very fortunate enough to work with, because I have actually worked with some of the greatest players in the world, in my opinion, you know. So I've been very fortunate in that way, and I just like to kind of try to do my best, and then when you work with somebody, you know, like the guys I'm going to be working with next week or whatever, you know, this like the kind of this like organic thing that happens, and you go, I can't put it into words. The very first time I played with Gary Husband was he was probably 19 years old. I was 27 at the time, so I was just a young geezer too. But I remember when I first played with him, it was just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I felt like somebody had like connected us like just with a wire. It was just like, how does he know? And then you get like all of the guys that I worked with, not just some of them, but with a good example of other guys like Jimmy Johnson. It's the same thing. He will do things and you just go like, where did that come from? And it's like he instinctively knew that there was going to be a hole. How can you know there's going to be a hole? You know, how can he possibly know that this is going to go that way or whatever? It's just, you know, it's just like trying to play with the guys that you love to play with, and the list that I've played with of really amazing musicians is huge. And 99.9% of them all had that for me. You know, I would be the one that would be probably laying them down more than the other way around. You know, and just that's all. You don't know what's going to happen. You just get on stage, you start playing, and you see what happens. It's like Las Vegas. You don't know. We're probably going to lose.
Anybody else out there? So we're having problems seeing something.
Yeah, but if you drop that light a little bit, that one,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
then I'll be able to see a little better. Or maybe even put some lights down that way. Oh, there you go. That's better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
my question is, I'm a bit of a tone chaser myself. I've spent the better part of 20 years buying different amplifiers, pedals, effects, and so on. And when direct solutions came out, like Line 6, I thought, since I'm in an apartment and I can't really drive my neighbors nuts all the time, I tried using those, but the tone was never right, and it always sounded fake. Recently, I bought an Axe FX2, which is much more expensive modeler, but it's getting me really close. Do you see yourself using some of these new direct devices that go direct to PA and have, you know, emulators rather than using amps? Because it simplifies. I got rid of all my pedals, all my amps, everything, and I just go direct now.
No, I do, absolutely. You know, and that's a great unit too. That's a wonderful unit. I actually have one of those. It's great. It's really great. It allows you to do it takes away all this cheese that you have on the stage. You know, you just put it right in the PA or whatever. No, it's great. all right, I think it's coming. But then there'll be, you know, at the end of the day, it's just like somebody, you know, maybe in 20 years' time, if we're still, not me, but if the planet's still here, then some guy's gonna go like, oh, look what I found in my garage, a 50-watt Marshall and a 4x12 cabinet. Whoa, check that out. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's convenient, and you know, you use what you use, and it won't stop the music. That's the beauty of it. Is it won't stop you from creating really great music. It doesn't matter really. It's just up to you. It's not up to the gear. You know, it's just a tool. It's like I've got a wrench to fix my car. That's how I think about the guitar. It's not even I just think of it like a little connection that I have between me and the world of music. It's not. It could be a trumpet, or you know, if you're a mechanic, it could be something else. It doesn't matter. It's just if you're able to create music with whatever you have, you know, then that's all you need. So the technology is great in that respect, but you know, there's always something to be said for, you know, I still like old 2-inch analog tape machines, but you know, that's just me.
So do you use that when you play live?
Yeah.
Do you just go direct into the PA?
Go direct.
That sounds great.
And for a stage monitor, I just use 1x12.
That's
PA
great.
cabinet.
That's great.
Really
Yeah,
good.
sure.
So it's full range.
Wow.
That's
I was just
fantastic.
wondering if you saw yourself using some solutions like that in the future.
I was thinking about it, you know, because I get, you know, it used to give me a little rash about all the stuff I cart around, you know, so that would be actually.
It saved me from carting anything. I just have one cabinet, that unit that goes direct to the house, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into it. Oh, nice, thank you.
Hi. On one of your DVDs, you talk about about visualizing, coming back to practicing, which really struck me. And usually in music education, you don't hear too many people talk about that. I think it's the DVD with Steve Hunt and Scully playing, and then in between you were talking, and you just said, you know, just encourage basically the people who watch the video, like in this case me, to say, you know, just visualize what you know, things you imagine things on your guitar, and one day they will come out and realize themselves. And I just, if you go to regular music education, you go to college, you know, they tell you use the scales and do this and do that. It's very intellectual. And personally, just recently, you know, when I watched your DVD, which I got 2 years ago, a little late, but you hear people like Victor Wooten talk about visualizing things, and I think it's an essential element of music education. And my question to you is, how you found out that it was an essential element to your practice and your playing, and you know, it takes a lot of patience and I think consistency in visualizing. And I just admire the fact that you mentioned it, and also obviously never gave up on visualizing. Is it just something you said, oh, you know, let me do this over and over again, or did you really had a concept and you saw some results and then you would branch out more in that direction?
Oh, like, that was a long question.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. But yeah, visualizing stuff was really important to me because, you know, being as a person that can almost see, you know, that's how I first started figuring out like how I wanted to catalog my own like scales and try to work on things after I stopped working with my dad. And when my dad passed away, I just decided I wanted to look at it a little bit differently, and I started working on little formulas of my own. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to catalog every single possible combination of scales in 1 octave, in 2 octaves, in 3 octaves. When you get past 2 octaves, it gets really rough. But I started with 1, and that's how I kind of started. I go like, I'm not going to worry about the names. I'm going to name them myself later. So I just took. All you do is you circle 1, whatever key it's in. It doesn't matter, because it's going to replicate itself times 12, whatever. So I would just take 1, and in this case I chose the D for good reason actually. And then I would just take, that note would always remain the same. Then I go like 1 through 12. Then we go 1, 2, 3. How many notes do you want? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 until I'd done all of them. And I ended up with a pile of papers like this. And then anything that had more than 4 semitones in a straight row, I just discarded them or put them in a separate file. So it was very visual for me. So like when I look at the guitar, I see it's like looking at, for me, it's like looking at an abacus machine. It's like I can actually see the distance between the intervals. So you go, oh, it's this 2 half steps, whole step, half step, or whatever. And when I look at the guitar, I go, oh yeah, that's what. And then when I look at the guitar, that's what I see. So if there's a particular chord, that's what I see. It's just like I see all of those, what I call available notes, and it's